Welcome, my friends, to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George, and today I have another instalment of Live Killers for you. Essentially, this is a recommendation of a live album which I think, if you're not familiar with it, if you've never heard it before, it's definitely worth your time checking out. I tend to try to go for the live albums which I think are of notable quality, but maybe they aren't the really well-known, renowned live albums that we all know, like No Sleep Till Hammersmith, or The Eagle Has Landed, or Live After Death. Trying to think a little bit outside of the box. So today's recommendation is actually a very new one for me. Although I've been familiar with this project since the release of the debut album Skills in Pills, um, I've only recently acquired this particular article, and I will say that I haven't actually watched the DVD or the Blu-ray in this case. I haven't watched the concert footage. It's a little bit difficult getting the time to actually sit down and watch TV anyway, let alone a full-length concert. But I have listened to the album, and I have to say I'm really, really impressed by it. I'm really enjoying it. So if you're not familiar with what this is the project Lindemann. Of course, this is the solo industrial project, a side project, really, supergroup of Rammstein frontman Till Lindemann. And I would say that there's a lot of similarities between this project, his solo project, and Rammstein. Although I have only very recently actually started to explore Rammstein's music. I'm very late to the party with Rammstein. I listened to his solo project, Till's solo project, Lindemann, far sooner than I listened to anything of Rammstein. But there are a few notable differences between the two projects, the two bands. This one is obviously, Lindemann is obviously mainly a duo, a supergroup, with Till on vocals and Peter Tagtgren, Swedish multi-instrumentalist and producer of Hypocrisy and Pain fame and notable other appearances, was the vocalist of Bloodbath, of course, for a while. How could we forget? But this project, I think this is quite interesting. Certainly the first album material here, Skills in Pills, unlike anything that is from Rammstein's catalogue, and also unlike the second album, F&M, Till actually sings in English, which is very different from singing in German, his native tongue, as he does in Rammstein. But I would also say this is a little bit different. It's far more electronic and sort of synth pop heavy. Lots of synths, lots of keys, lots of crazy stuff going on there. But actually, I think it's really good. I'm not a massive fan of industrial metal, but I would say this is really, really good stuff, actually. So this is live in Moscow. This was recorded as a live DVD. This was released back in 2021, so I'm not quite sure when it was recorded, but actually looking through the material in this little booklet, it does make you think, wow, this looks so over the top, so out there. I can imagine this is almost like a Rammstein level spectacle. Maybe not quite with as much pyro, but it looks like a really good, well performed show. I think there's quite a good picture in here as well of Peter Tagtgren. Fantastic musician that he is, absolutely superb. So, as I say, I'm really impressed by this show. I love the fact that it kicks off with 3 tracks from that first album. Back to back, you've got Skills in Pills, Ladyboy, and Fat. Now, those songs and all of the other in English speaking, because I do not speak German myself, but those English songs are sick and twisted, and it's totally mental. It's not something that you should pay too much attention to thematically. It's something not to be taken too seriously. It's a lot of fun, to be honest, and it's a bit gross. But musicianship wise, it's very good. Get some really heavy industrial riffs, but we get a lot of those, as I say, more like an electro synth heavy key works. It's really interesting stuff. I love that self-titled album track, Skills in Pills. I think that's a fantastic song. And most notably on that track and another track from that album, which is Home Sweet Home, which features in the middle of the set there. I think that Till actually performs some of the best vocal work that I have heard from the Rammstein frontman. It's really strong. He delivers great actual singing, not just shouting or making aggressive noises. No, it's actually really good singing. Elsewhere, we have a few great tracks from the F&M album, and I will admit that I'm not all that familiar with F&M, the second album from the duo. I have got a copy and I have listened to it a couple of times, but for me, the material wasn't quite as good. Maybe it's just because I haven't listened to it enough times to actually really get familiar with it. But I would say that I think it's notably different than the first album material. But we do get some great material there. Actually, the self-titled track from the well, it's not quite self-titled, but F&M, the Frau and Man, that Woman and Man, it's a great song. It's actually quite sort of upbeat in its sound. Some great guitar work as well. Great musicianship throughout. Nebel, spelt Knebel, that is a great track. Now that's an interesting one because for the first sort of part of the song, it's actually an acoustic, almost like a country song, and then it gives way and you get some really heavy industrial hammering. You get heavy riffs, you get really aggressive vocals performed by Till there, and he sounds brilliant. It's a really good song. Of course, we have Cowboy and Golden Shower. Don't need to think too hard or stretch the imagination too far to know what that's about. Being pissed on. But it's a great song. It really just quite a bit of fun, not to be taken too seriously. Some very interesting lyrics there, very, very strange, but some great musicianship there. Blut from the F&M album as well. That is a very good song. Very good guitar work there. It's a very heavy song, and again, Till's vocal delivery is very aggressive. What I will say about Blut is that it has some really interesting, very unsettling, very dark yet ambient key work. It's very interesting stuff, and it sounds really good. It really fits these very heavy riffs. Great sounding stuff. Then we've got Plas Eins as well, another good song. Before we get a few more tracks, Praise Abort and Fish On. Fish On is a fantastic song, one of my favourite from that Skills in Pills album. It's a very weird album, it's a very weird song, but it's a heavy industrial moment. Then we've got Ak So Gern, and we have Gumi as well. More good solid songs from the F&M album. But I will say the notable distinction between the material here from the Live in Moscow record and from the Skills in Pills or F&M albums is that they sound far heavier here. And of course that is not uncommon. We know that with quite a lot of live albums, you do tend to find that either it's just a replication of the studio song, it sounds pretty much the same, it sounds maybe a little bit better in places, or it does sound distinctively better, like the live version is maybe the definitive version of the song that we remember or that we prefer. And I would say that the Lindemann Live in Moscow versions are probably better than the studio versions. Not just because you've got that live aggressive energy, but Till's vocals are on top form. He sounds brilliant here. Peter's guitar tone sounds far heavier than it does on the CDs, or on the albums, I should say, on studio versions. It sounds really thick and heavy, like a really chugging industrial tone. I think it sounds great. Personal highlights for me, certainly that opening track, Skills in Pills, because that was the obviously it's the opening tracks, the first track of this that I'd heard. I hadn't heard any singles or any bits and pieces of it on Spotify or whatever. This was just a purchase. I think it was in the Black Friday sales, and it was something like £8 on Amazon. So I thought, I'll just take a chance. You never know. Even if I just listen to it a couple of times, it's worth giving a go. But I actually really enjoyed it. So when I heard that Skills in Pills song, I was really blown away by how heavy that version is, and it sounds incredible. Elsewhere, Nebel, definitely. Home Sweet Home is a very creepy song. It's actually very, very dark in its lyrical nature, and again, as I said, it's got some great vocal work. Blut as well. Praise Abort and Fish On are also great. And Stay Auf, brilliant songs. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of the song titles there, but I don't speak German, only little bits and pieces. So I would say that this is a live killer. This is Live in Moscow by Lindemann. Are you familiar with this live album? If you're not, check it out. If you're not familiar with Lindemann's project, definitely. He's only got the 2 studio albums currently. I don't know if the band is still going. I believe I heard somewhere a little while ago that maybe they had called it a day or put it on hold. I don't really know. But if you're not familiar with this, check it out. It's a really enjoyable, heavy live album. It's long, and it's pretty much a concise record of the band's material. So, as I say, Live in Moscow by Lindemann, check it out. And do let me know what you think. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this live killer. So, thank you very much for watching, my friends. Do take care. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations. Feel free to like and subscribe. And, of course, as always, you stay heavy.